Welcome to more World of Warplanes content from the Noble Queue, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the tech tree Tier 9 American fighter, the F6U Pirate, and this video is a subscriber request. Here's the F6U Pirate, not in my hangar technically, it's on the tarmac outside the hangar. An aircraft that's not much loved in the game, a couple of reasons why. It's a bit of an oddity as well, which I'll explain when I look in the tech tree in a moment. Well, let's go and do that now. So, as we can see, the F6U Pirate actually occupies an odd slot coming off the fighter line, and it allows you to build towards a heavy line, so you can avoid all the early heavies if you want. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. And the positioning, as you can see, entirely on its own. Well, it used to be even odder than that. It actually used to be an interloper over here, off the multi-role line. From the F2G you could go to the Pirate instead of the F94D Starfire, and then to the F7U, and that has an important consequence which we'll discuss when we're back in the hangar, which we'll go now. Let's quickly see how I've set this one up. It's not specialised yet, so I've got a couple of slots that are not available to me, one for the forward firing weapon, one for the engine, and also a consumable slot on the engine that's not available. On the slots that I have got available, I've put a gun sight, no surprises there, polished skin for extra speed. Here's an interesting choice, the improved high-speed gas turbine. I'm just going to say, this is a heavy aircraft, or at least you can infer that it's a heavy aircraft, and it doesn't accelerate very well. Now, if you want to see the detail of that, you need to look at the numbers section, but if you're not going to look at the numbers section, heavy aircraft, doesn't accelerate well, so I've put on the high-speed gas turbine for better acceleration rather than the uprated engine at this moment. I will almost certainly put an uprated engine in this slot when I have the chance, though. On the forward-firing weapon, I'm going to be putting on a reinforced bolt carriers for extra burst length when I get the chance. Consumables, single-seat fighter, therefore a fire extinguisher. Just in case I'm fighting another pirate, I've put on a pneumatic control assist, but the manoeuvrability of this aircraft is not great, as you can see. Engine cooling for extra boost. This will probably be an engine restart. There is an argument you could put the mixture, the improved engine mixture in there if you wanted, and universal ammunition as always. On the pilot, I'll be concentrating on speed skills. I've already got the aerodynamics expert. I've got Engine Guru 1. When I get the next point, which will be fairly soon, I'll probably put it on Marksman 1, but when I get a third point, I will then probably move it onto Engine Guru 3 and then start building towards Marksman 1. Okay, so the next section is about the numbers. It's quite interesting this time. I would recommend you stay around and watch the section, but if you really can't face the numbers, use the link below to skip ahead. So here are the statistics of all the Tier 9 fighters. The Pirate is in columns C and D. All of the other fighters are occupied 2 columns off to the right. The main attributes that you can see in the UI are down here on the left. The statistics are in the body of the spreadsheet. As ever, the configuration is stock, no equipment mounted. The pilot is sent back to the barracks. All top modules. Green on the spreadsheet indicates green, indicates best in class, light blue second best in class, light purple third best in class, and there's only one premium reward aircraft, which of course is the Goblin, and that's marked in this colour here, as you can see. Let's start on the gun armament. Fairly good armament on the Pirate. In theory, second best in class, third best in class I should say, sorry. It's behind the TA-183 Huckabine, which has the disadvantage of quite a short range, but also the MEP-1092, which in every respect is a really good counter to the F6U Pirate. You need to watch out for those, and you can imagine what an MEP-1101, the Tier 10, would do. But otherwise, we have 420mm cannons with 720 cumulative DPS, and I can tell you that you can get 4 or 5 seconds of clear burst, which gives this a pretty good burst damage potential. However, there's been some chatter over the years that the guns on the F6U Pirate are bugged. I'm not sure about that. I can tell you if you're behind an aircraft or in front of it, you'll do all the damage you expect. Sometimes it's a bit curious when you're trying to do deflection shots, and that's possibly where the thought that the guns are bugged come from. These are, if I remember correctly, the same guns that are on the XF90, and what I found is if I'm doing deflection shots and I'm hitting the tail of an enemy aircraft, it sparkles but no damage is done. And I find that with the XF90 as well, so perhaps these guns are bugged a little bit. Just bear that in mind, give it a little bit more lead. It looks like fairly good news on the survivability. It's a robust aircraft. Yes, it is for a fighter, but then that's not going to count for much, especially if you get behind something with a good tail gun. So bear that in mind. Airspeed. Now, this is an interesting one. All the figures are green here. In other words, it's best in class. And there is one in particular I want to concentrate on in a moment. And yet it's only shown rated at third best in class. Why would that be? Well, it's what some people call soft statistics, what I call hidden statistics. And it lags behind the MiG-9, even though the MiG-9 in theory has got a lower boost, maximum boost speed, and much less boost duration. And it's got to do with the hidden statistics of acceleration. And also hidden statistics about mass. Now, you can see mass of various modules in the API that nobody uses for World of Warplanes. I'm going to infer here that the MiG-9 is a much lighter aircraft, and therefore its boost pushes it faster, much more quickly, i.e. it accelerates much more quickly than does this heavy old beast of an aircraft, the F6U Pirate. And that's why this is rated less, even though on the face of it, on the available statistics, it has the best in class on all aspects. It just doesn't accelerate. And if you come here, and you'll see why I've picked the improved gas turbine in the engine slot for the moment, because I'm trying to improve the acceleration on an aircraft that doesn't accelerate particularly well. Nevertheless, dive speed, remember that. In many cases, you'll want to try and dive away from aircraft if you're fleeing. And here's the really interesting one, and this is a carryover from the old position on the tech tree, branching off a multi-role line. You have twice the boost at least of any of the other fighters. And if you combine that with engine cooling and you've got all of your boost available, you've got a massive 26 seconds of boost. So if you are fleeing and diving, you've got a good chance of getting away from almost any other fighter. Maneuverability, nothing to write home about here at all. This aircraft is what it may very well be the least maneuverable fighter at Tier 9, and that will tell you immediately that you don't want to be turn fighting in this. Now, generally, when you have something that's not good at turn fighting but has pretty good armament, you're looking for a really good altitude performance, and I'm afraid it isn't good news here. The altitude performance is indifferent at best, on a par with the attacker. Better than the turn fighters, which you would expect, but not much more so than the KI-1621. You'll also find there's J7s getting up to intercept you as well, and you'll be at a severe disadvantage against the Huckabee and the MiG-9, the MEP-1092, which you must keep an eye out for, and of course the FJ-1 Fury as well, and indeed the Goblin, which has got the best performance of all. Climb rate is okay, but you're not going to be climbing away from most fighters, with the possible exception of the AC-9, which you should be well above at all times anyway. So, we'll drop back into the hangar, and I'll tell you how I think you should fly this aircraft. Without a doubt, the Pirate is a high-energy fighter with an altitude disadvantage. Its performance isn't as good as you'd like it to be, but it does have a very good dive speed, and it's got that tremendous boost for a fighter, a carryover from the multi-role days when it came off the multi-role line. So you want to try and keep this in groups. I will tend to fly this aircraft in the yellow regions almost all the time. I know that has a performance impact, but I just can't fly it at its nominal height without being at a serious disadvantage. Bear that in mind. I tend to try and avoid going for fighters if I can. I'm looking to take out air defense aircraft, particularly heavies, enemy heavies, and I'm looking for opportunities to go and take sectors without necessarily engaging fighters. So either a sector which is thinly populated with the enemy, or a sector which I'm assaulting which only has air defense aircraft. If you're going to take on bombers, you want to try not to get behind particularly human bombers with really good gunners. As robust as fighter as this is, and with the DPS being as good as it is, you're still going to suffer quite badly. So take the heavies, take air defense aircraft, dive down and take GA ground attack aircraft if they're the only aircraft available in the sector to shoot down. Be very careful about engagements with other fighters. You are the least maneuverable, You want to catch them at a disadvantage when they're a bit busy with something else and use your DPS to its maximum extent. Bear in mind that you need to give extra lead on the guns because, rather like the XF90 for instance, if you're shooting the tail of an enemy aircraft you probably won't do any damage. Whether that's a bug or whether that's just insufficient lead, I'll leave you to decide. And if you are in need of fleeing, try and use the dive speed and try and use your boost. And engage your engine cooling. You may very well get away under boost in a dive. Okay, that's enough on the playing style and also the numbers if you watched that section. Let's go ahead and see what the pirate looks like in a battle. Let's talk about strategy and tactics quickly, and here we are on the plateau map. It's the turning point variant in a 5 spots of the die configuration for 5 sectors. The garrison, the least important strategically, is tactically important because it's the gateway to all of the other sectors. We have a pair of command centres flanking it and a pair of repair air bases. Command centre, of course, causing bomber flights, as well as the normal 3 resources every 5 seconds. The airbase has 3 special characteristics. Of course, it's a spawn point. That is fairly useful on this map. Allows you to select a different aircraft if you possess the airbase after you've been destroyed. And also you can fully repair your aircraft. So it's quite interesting. All of the sectors have their virtues. They're all important. So the key thing is try and have 3 of them for longer than the enemy. Looking at the order of battle, we can see I'm top tier in my pirate. And tier 8 we have an XP58 and we have an RB17 unspecialized as well. That's the bomber, of course. On the enemy, they have the advantage of an extra tier 9. They have an FJ1, very good count to my aircraft. A J7W2, which I will have to be aware of since it can contest me if I'm flying at lower altitudes. And also a heavier P1056. So it's quite an interesting mix of aircraft. Let's see how we get on. So if anything, the command centres are probably a little bit more important than the repair air bases. However, they don't have heavies that I can shoot at. Therefore, in a moment I'm going to head off towards the repair air base on the left. And the reason I didn't immediately do that is because in the background I had a cat doing cat things that needed to be stopped. Okay, so now we're on our way to the airbase. I'll be looking to engage the heavies first, so I'm gaining altitude. And probably throughout this battle you'll see that I'm in the yellow regions quite a lot. If you don't, I think you're at a disadvantage and it's worth losing the performance. In this particular case, one of the heavies dives in front of me. A little bit of gun management. You can see it's quite easy to knock down the air defence heavy with these guns. Picking the furthest away targets, picking up damage from something behind me. I choose to speed up and go away and look to intercept the BVP-210. Got to be aware it doesn't go head on at me, otherwise I'll get a face full of rockets. As it's a bot, I choose to turn, and sure enough it's engaged something else. That gives me the opportunity to shoot it down from behind. Locate the remaining air defence heavy. And here we see the sparkles without the damage. But now I'm behind it, the guns begin to register. So I pass the BVP, secure the kill, and also the sector. Turn to confront the enemy that's coming in. Didn't actually have to dodge the 1056, but I didn't want to take the chance that he was bearing down on me. An enemy on my tail, there's not much I can do about that. All I can do is try and remove the heavy. And down I go. So spawning in, I've decided to spawn at the original spawn point because I want to go and confront the enemy aircraft, making a beeline for our command centre. So there's one heavy and a couple of bombers. It's a pancake. It should be easy enough for me to get on its tail. It's keeping on its tail that may be interesting. Briefly think about going for the bomber, then decide that I can't really ignore the pancake and start to shoot it down. This isn't bug guns, this is just the pancake weaving a bit to throw me off. And finally I get enough into it to shoot it down. Now we boost back up, looking to take the bombers. Don't really want to get behind them if I can avoid it. Unfortunately, they fly in such a pattern that they're both flying away from me, so I can't avoid getting behind them. And unfortunately, the RB-17 chooses not to shoot at me with the rear gun automatic, and so it's an easy kill. Had he been shooting at me with his rear gun, I might have had to break off. And the other RB-17 caught it up very quickly and also got its engine, causing me to overshoot. You can see I'm well in the yellow altitudes here. This is familiar territory for me with this aircraft. Joined by the XP-58, but we're not quick enough to stop the sector from falling to the enemy. So the defence didn't succeed, and now we've got to either think about taking the command centre back or flying off to get another sector. And since all of the nearby sectors are either an airbase where I don't want to go on my own or in our possession, it's an easy decision to stay here and take on the air defence fighters when they appear. And there they are. A good volley into the weaving BF-109G, and then select another one that's flying away from me, and there's an easier target. Down that goes. Select one that's flying across me and destroy that very quickly. The VVP misses with the rocket, so I finish it off, and now that's all of the air defence aircraft destroyed. I can either go down and try and take ground targets, or I can go off and do something else. Avoiding the flak. As you can see, we have a ground attacker and 2 multi-rolls. I felt quite safe in not trying to take ground targets there, and indeed I was right to feel safe. We now have the command centre again under our control. And not doing too badly so far. Second sortie is going a lot better than the first one, and we're up to 10 aircraft destroyed. Hope you don't mind me having a slurp of tea there. So I'm going to set about the air defence heavies. The prime target for this aircraft. It really is excellent at clearing out air defence heavies. Now looking for another target of opportunity to try and swing this sector to our team, and having picked out an air defence fighter, that's another sector under our control, but we've lost a command centre, so the game is bobbing about back and forth. We do have a 120 point advantage, which is good. I stopped the Tempest from going any further. Go after the BVP-212. Unfortunately, since it's concentrating on the pancake in front of it, I'm able to shoot it down. Certainly won't be able to turn with it. Have a pop at a bomber because I can. But they've already done their work. So I break off. And I take on the JA-10. Manage to get its wing, which helps. It stops it wiggling about quite so much. And then blow it up. And as you can see, I'm up to 16 targets destroyed, but I've picked them very carefully. I've only destroyed 7 enemy aircraft, 3 of which are multi-rolls, 1 heavy and 2 bombers. Only 1 fighter. And the rest of the victims have been air defence aircraft, and that's quite deliberate. Choose to try and boost away from whatever's shooting behind me, probably the J7. Turn around to have a look. The FJ1 is there as well. If I can get that out, that will be a real boon. Unfortunately, he chooses to go head on, which is about the only way he could lose. Hero of the Sky badge notification goes through. The BVP presents himself, fortunately, in front of me. I know I'm being chased again. And J7W get distance and turn to confront. He's broken off and is after another target. And unfortunately, he's managed to secure this base by shooting down the target in front of him. I don't do enough to him, so I have to fly away. Fortunately, my speed is more than sufficient to get away from him. I used engine tuning to make absolutely certain of it. And it's important now because we're 4 sectors to 1 down, although we have a very healthy lead. I don't want to be losing my aircraft and giving them any chance of shooting us all down. So as you can see, the J7W is actually limping along behind me. I begin to work over an air defence aircraft. Unfortunately, the flak plays quite a role there, and an enemy behind me. Shoot down the BVP, and that's the ace. 10 enemy aircraft, 10 air defence aircraft, only 2 fighters amongst those, all very deliberate. Pick the easiest target, don't quite knock them down. But even if this game had gone on for a moment or two longer, I would have been able to shoot down one of these aircraft and secure the sector. And in fact I do, and that seals the victory. Hero of the Sky, quite a good clutch of medals. Only 15,970 personal points, and that's because I chose to shoot down air defence aircraft for the most part. But a very effective battle nonetheless. So let's take a look at that battle result, and as we can see from the centre, it's a 5 chevron battle, or grade 1 fighter if you prefer. 136,158 credits, all silver, of which approximately 45,000 came from the premium account bonus. As we can see, expenses were 12,100, that was for losing the aircraft once. 6,417 aircraft experience with bonuses, 323 experience for bonuses. I'd already got the first win of the day, and a couple of tokens, both first medals of the day, Marseille medal and ace, but also there was Nakamatsu, a winged legend, and Hero of the Sky. On the person score tab, we can see that 2 of the class specific missions were complete, the third one was nearly complete, that's why it's a 5 chevron battle. 15,970 personal points, slightly on the low side I felt for all the work that I did, but there you go. 4 sectors captured, showing that I put myself about the map quite a bit, as was my intention. 21 aerial targets destroyed, 1 more than is needed for the ace. A healthy 8,454 damage to 8 aerial targets, but only 18 critical hits, interestingly. Lost the aircraft once, and 740 capture points, and they were split 240 for defending, 500 for attacking. If we look at the team score tab, we can see that I was first by both personal points and chevrons. Decent contribution from the down-tiered XP58 there. Likewise from the RB17. On the enemy side, the very dangerous FJ1, again a good contribution. The J7W2 that I had to avoid at the end also played well. Possibly the player in the P1056 might have wished he'd done a little bit more. Nevertheless, I was glad to win this battle. So that concludes my look at the F6U Pirate, one of the trickier aircraft in the game. Quite a few disadvantages. I find the lack of altitude performance particularly so, but pretty good guns, particularly if you're directly behind or in front of an aircraft. Excellent boost and a good dive speed. If you fly it as a high energy fighter, if you fly it with high tactical awareness, and you have a good target selection, there are certainly games in which you will do well. Well, I hope you found that all useful, and if you did, that you'll consider coming back to see my future content. But until then, this is the Noble Q signing out.